Hi, welcome to DramaMeans. Today is our 2024 wrap-up, and then after this episode, we are going to take a holiday hiatus.
A well-deserved holiday hiatus.
Today, drama means end of the year. Drama means reminiscing the year through dramas. And drama means goodbye 2024 and catch ya in 2025.
Now, I just realized that this is episode 40 of this year. We've done 40 episodes, which officially makes us a Chinese costume drama.
Anyway, so we went through a lot of dramas and movies and variety shows this year. What was your favorite drama to hate on?
Oh, boy. The problem is, a lot of times the ones I hate, I don't remember the names of. Like, I don't bother remembering. Like, they have me lost so fast that I'm like, what is this one? Who cares?
Yeah, I actually went through my dropped dramas list, and I'm like, I don't even remember some of them. They were so bad. And I'm just like, or I just don't have as like big of a hatred towards it because they were just so bad, and I'm like, okay, I'm just not gonna watch this. But there are like dramas for me that I'm just like, I just loathe. And I love to loathe. And I love to talk shit about.
Okay.
I think the biggest one for me is Journey to You.
Well, that one would be on my list too. I think talk about like a lot of style, if you want to call it that, but no substance. Like that would be how I would think about that drama.
Yeah, I really wanted to like it. I like the actors in it. The cinematography is actually pretty good. It's just they don't give a fuck about the story.
It didn't have anything to hold on to story-wise. Like there was no character development. There's no characters you want to really cheer for. The premise is just silly to me. Like it's shot so dark and serious. And I think we talked about it before on the podcast. It's like the premise is like this place is so secret and crazy, no one can sneak into it except for everyone's a spy from the other side. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, it is utterly ridiculous, and like I just don't think they really put a lot of effort into thinking out plot wise. They only want characters, and they want the darkness, and they have a lot of whispering.
Oh, everyone whispers. Like every character.
Well,
Every
except for the
scene.
older sister, who is like the comedic relief.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, and it's just
But that was part of the tone problem where it's like whispering so tense you could like, hear a pin drop and then doop 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 doop. Here comes the stupid characters.
I hate Journey to You. And I think I'm very apparent that I also hate Guo Jingming, the director.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is so pretentious. Everything is just about looks to him. It's nothing of substance. And, I mean, not to mention his, like, plagiarism scandals. And, but I didn't go into it with, like, already hating him. It's just that after watching it, I hate him even more.
It bothers me that some directors think actors sitting as still as they can, staring slightly off camera, equals dramatic. Like, watch this show with the sound off, and it is just people sitting pristinely still, staring off into the distance. When did that become the hallmark of like dramatic cinema? Like, do something with your face or words or anything. I was so bored.
Yeah. Anyway, that is my choice of the one that I love to hate on the most.
I think we're going to talk about this in a later segment in this episode, but I would say my favorite one to hate on, or do you know what I'm going to say? The Fox Spirit Matchmaker. The show not about matchmaking. And I've gone on this rant before, so I won't pain everyone with extra, but that show, for lack of a better term, was fucking stupid.
Yeah, it was really bad. But yeah, we will talk about that later, or we can bring it up now.
No, it's fine. It's just that's the one that I gives me joy to talk shit about, because I'm just like, wait a minute. So did you even know what your show was about? Did you know you were supposed to work in matchmaking? Like, and the backstory's really stupid, and the character relationships are really stupid, and like the only twist that got me was it was a twist that was so stupid I didn't see coming, because I was like, there's no way that they're making this guy a bad guy. That would be really stupid. Oh wait, they did it anyway.
Yeah.
So like, it's just incoherent. Nothing.
Yeah.
So anyway, we can move on to brighter pastures.
Okay. So I have one drama that I literally put on whenever I don't know what I want to watch. And it is from 2024, and it used to be previous years To My Star, and now it's 25G Akasakade.
I don't think I saw this one. I didn't watch this with you. Did I?
I thought you did.
I don't remember this one now. But either way, yeah, it's on a lot.
Well, yes, I literally put it on. I'm sure you've watched it because I put it on like so many times. And literally, like, I will watch and rewatch it over and over and over again.
So what is it specifically about the drama? Is it the mood? Is it the characters? What is it?
Well, I like the emotions conveyed. I like that neither of the characters are like toxic. It's one of those easy, fluffy ones, but it is heavy on emotions for each other. And is it a perfect drama? No. And is it my favorite drama? It's actually not. But it is the one that I like to put on whenever I can't think of anything else I would rather watch.
See, I don't have the necessity to watch a full drama over again. Like, there's some dramas that I enjoy thinking about. I'll rewatch old movies, but it's too much time commitment to me to dig into an entire drama. But I would say one that I find myself thinking about a lot would be my second Aoharu, because I just loved all of the characters in it, and it was just one of those shows that put me in a good mood. And it was delightful, and the lead was delightful, and her romantic interest is delightful, and the roommates are delightful, and it's sort of like, was it the most action-packed show ever? No, but everything just worked about it. And I really appreciate them winding it so tight when it's, quote unquote, like, just a silly little, show about not really much, But man, when I think about it, I'm like, I would watch that. It just comes to the top of my head.
I totally, totally get it. It's also like, with Journey to You, it was like terrible tone problems. But in this one, although there are different tones in it, it's well balanced and well curated.
And it's consistent from character to character. Like, we always talk about tone creep when we break Story in the Room, where you can't go from like your lead character being tortured cut to like the two other characters that care about this character doing something like dumb, like playing checkers and cheating each other at checkers. And you're like, wait a minute, you two idiots are playing checkers to dopey music while your best friend in the world is being tortured. It makes the audience sit back and go, huh? So like, those things have to be, yes, you can have a comedy scene next to a dramatic scene, but it just has to feel like it's part of the same show, and it feels like the same characters exist in the same world. And I think this one, they all felt like they all lived together. Obviously, they're in the same world,
Yeah.
but
And this one conveys that there are ups and downs in someone's life, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the other one in Journey to You is just a one person trying to like be funny without any like real like.
Well, it's also like low-hanging fruit laughs. Like they're not
Yeah.
working very hard to get the laughs. They're like, oh, we're gonna bring in a funny character that like walks funny and talks with her face, and it's just like, okay, like slapstick next to like, you know, very serious, dark life and death decisions, whispering scenes, you know, and then ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be mine. If you know, talking about like rewatchability, because it also put me in a good mood.
Yeah,
that's it.
It really
That's all I need.
So for me, for this year, in my opinion, one of the best performances of the year is Wu Jingyan, when she plays Zhang Li in The Double. The Double in general, like, really surprised me because they did a lot of things that I wasn't expecting from a Chinese drama, and they didn't overplay a lot of like your normal tropes as much, you know, and it's just, it kind of rekindled my love for Chinese costume dramas. Although after The Double and well, I think it's mainly after The Princess Royal, it took a really big dip in drama world where like I really couldn't even find anything that I wanted to watch or liked. But yeah, so for me, I think the best performance of the year, I would say Wu Jingyan, Zhang Li in The Double.
Well, she's great and really carries the entire show on her back.
Yeah.
And so that's why my pick for the best performance for me that I watched this year was Isaac Wong in Dee Dee. Because you're asking a kid to carry a movie, like carry a coming of age story. This is a young actor that has the weight of this. And it's so real and so raw and so subtle in a way that, trust me, even if you don't see it, it's really hard to do. Subtlety, especially with young actors, like it's not something that just comes natural to everyone. It takes a good director, it takes a good actor, it takes a good cast to come together, and this kid really just like knocked it out of the park, in my opinion.
Very good. I agree with that. So, something that we've been watching and really have been enjoying this year, and we finally just finished it. So I do want to talk about it a little bit, is a Peaceful Property.
You think we'll do an episode next year about it, or will it be too far gone by that point?
I don't know, because there's actually a lot more of this year left that I assume that we'll talk about stuff next year. Well, maybe we'll talk about
Maybe
it.
we'll get to it.
But
this one was a surprise.
I loved it so much.
Did we say it out loud what it was? Did you say what it was?
Peaceful Property.
Okay, yeah. Wow, what a shock! I was like, this is going to be either really stupid or just bad, and it was neither of those things. It's slightly stupid, but in a way I love, and the way that is very endearing to me, but really entertaining and pretty joyful.
I really enjoyed it. I went in like, I'm like, okay, I knew it wasn't going to be a BL, you know, but I'm like, hey, Tay knew. And last time we talked about it, we said that we felt, you know, the last thing they were in was Cherry Magic, the Thai version, and we felt like they were miscasted.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, I feel like they were perfectly casted. They acted it perfectly. They were natural. They were just really good in their characters because they owned their characters. And I think that really makes a difference of, you know, just having content and you own the character rather than trying to live up to its predecessor.
I also like how it's not a BL for these two to be in it. Like, it doesn't have to be a BL for these guys to have on-screen chemistry. They have this bromance chemistry in this that is fun. And, like, they do deeply care about each other, and they have this friend group. And so it was just a different such a different tone between the two of them from Cherry Magic to this.
Actually, like I saw a video on YouTube. I can't remember the creator's name or their channel, but they had posted, does Tay and you know that Peaceful Property isn't supposed to be a BL?
There's a few smoldery looks between the two of them.
Yeah, and they actually put our favorite scene where like they're video calling each other, and it's a new or home, is like it cuts out of the blankets and it's showing his like
his
legs.
Like feet are giddy.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
It's like one of our favorite scenes, and it's so cute, and they're so adorable. And I was saying, if they have a season 2, it would be a BL.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the next natural evolution, but it just shows that like not every BL has to follow a formula. Like you could say this is a BL with a little more.
Yeah.
Like they would need to do a little more.
Well, it's a Budmance.
It's a Budmance. Hashtag Budmance.
Yeah. The thing is that I always felt like BLs don't need the kissing and the blatant like saying out loud that they like each other or love each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the feeling should be conveyed and felt, and they totally brought that.
I think so too. And I think also, like, I can't remember what we were watching recently, and we finished, and I was like, oh man, I'm so glad that these two characters didn't turn into like a love match just for the sake of a love match. Because if this movie was made 25 years ago, the guy had to be in love with the girl by the end of the action movie. You know, Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves have to kiss at the end of Speed, even though it doesn't make all that much sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Or like they would just be paired off. So like, Home would be with Pung Pung, and then Peach would be with Kang.
Yeah, and they have to be paired up or else you're not satisfied.
Yeah.
And now it's like, no, we don't have to follow that silly formula. Like, let's just give me the show that you want to make and make it entertaining. And I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, it was great. The characters were great. Their little like case by case stories were like endearing, and
I liked how they kind of came back. Like they didn't just do those cases and then forget about it. Like some of the characters from the cases come back later, help them.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was kind of fun that they just kept using every single piece of it.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it so much. It was fun. It was hilarious.
Over the top.
It was over the top, for sure. It was meant to be over the top. The thing is, when you go in and you know exactly what you want to do and execute it well, I'm fine with over the top.
I agree.
It's just those ones where it's like it's over the top, but then they like have nowhere to go with it, and it's just uneven. Like those are the times when you're like, oh yeah, you're tripping over yourself. But in this case, Peaceful Property is so enjoyable. Like I loved it so much.
Now they did get a little wonky at the end. The bad guys are kind of stupid bad guys. And they kind of go off the rails for like maybe a half an episode kind of at the end. But otherwise, I would say this is really, really good. I want to talk about my favorite character, though.
Well, okay, you talk about him, and then I'll talk about the connection he brings.
Well, I would say my favorite character in the whole show is a character that maybe has 12 lines of dialogue over the course of 12 episodes. And that's Suderek the bodyguard, who he brings in because he's rich now and he needs a bodyguard. So it's like this, like, he's so unnecessary, but then never leaves his side, becomes true blue to the very end. Like, they were going to lose me if they killed this character off, even though he doesn't say anything. But every time he makes an appearance, it makes an impact. And I think it's an important lesson that not every single character that you write or you film needs to have some deep backstory, something really complex to make you care in order to be loved. Sometimes those characters just, when they're around, they become beloved characters. Like he's in the background of so many shots early, and you don't even realize until later when they're showing like shots of the group, like the main four, he's always in the back of those like photos they took.
Yeah.
Like he's always there, and he becomes this beloved character who every time he shows up, you smile because it's, you know, they're about to do something with him.
Yeah. I love that he is part of the support group. I love the weird connection that Home has with him where it's like they take turns like putting their legs on top of each other,
rubbing
like
each other's feet.
Yeah. Or like just the random like cut to they're taking a bath together.
But that was like over the top comedy, but it was so silly, but then there was a seriousness in his loyalty to Home.
Yeah, but also it shows how down to earth Home is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he is a rich kid, but he's not the kind of rich kid that like looks down on you in any way. Like he can be best friends with anybody.
Mm-hmm. They did pull off I think it's the airplane gag where, and I was so surprised by it because I just wasn't expecting it, but there's the gag from Airplane. I mean, it's complete ripped off in this where the guy, I think it's Robert Stack, has like a pair of aviators on, and he rips off the pair of aviators and he has a smaller pair of aviators on underneath them because that's his character. And like they do that in this where he's got those weird little round sunglasses, and is it Tan? Who was it that the lawyer? Khan. I can never remember her name. Khan. She like gets mad at him and she like rips the glasses off his face, and he's got a smaller pair of like perfectly round sunglasses on underneath. I couldn't help but laugh, even though that gag has been done before. I was like, that's a nice callback to like the tone we're going for. Like it's not Airplane, but we're like throwing out hints.
Yeah. I do have to say that I don't know how other people feel, but I loved Home's wardrobe. Every time I'm like, oh, I want that jacket.
So I have a question. Do you think the wardrobe department on this show was dressing him like an American, or thought they were dressing him like an American?
Yes, definitely.
Because it was so random. He's like wearing NASCAR and like NBA stuff, and like that weird sweater with the bones that they wore like 3 times, was the red one that like showed like his skeleton. I don't even know if you picked up on it. That was
I remember the bones one, but I think the bones one just correlates with the whole
the ghost.
Yeah, the ghost thing. But like for sure they definitely dressed him the way that they did because he's supposed to be like very Americanized.
That's not how we dress, Thailand.
No, I would totally dress like that.
That's not how we dress, Thailand.
That is like my favorite wardrobe.
I enjoyed it, but I was like, wait a minute. No one would wear a shirt like that.
I don't know about like the shirts that he wore inside his like outerwear, but I loved all like the hoodies and like the jackets that he always wore. I'm like, oh my god, I would want that. I want that. I would wear it.
Oh. But anyway, if you get a chance, maybe we'll do a whole episode about it next year. I don't know if we will, but it was a really worth a watch. Peaceful Property.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a lot of good things. So I want to talk about some tropes that need to die. Some different things that happen in dramas that I'm like, oh, really? Are we still doing this? And my favorite trope to hate, I didn't even realize this was a trope till this year.
I don't really think it is. I think there's like a few out there, but it's so like few and far between.
I don't know. It felt like it came up in conversation more than a few times about more than a few dramas, but apparently there's a whole genre of shows that give you superpowers when it rains. Like you can hear what people think when it rains, or you can be matched with your soulmate when it rains. And I'm like, why is this a conditional superpower? I don't understand conditional superpowers. And I don't think this is one that needs to stick around. Like this can run its course and go away.
I don't know. I don't really think this is a trope. So,
well, you'll be mistaken when every show next year we'll review is about somebody has a superpower when it rains. Okay, how about a real trope? Here's one that needs to go away. Characters I understand that some characters need inner monologues so we can understand what they're saying, and it's fairly popular still in some, especially the costume dramas. It feels like we get a lot of inner monologue. In anime, we get a ton of inner monologue. But characters standing in rooms alone, talking about their feelings out loud to themselves. Dear filmmakers, this needs to go away. Find smarter ways for your characters to tell the audience how they feel. It's a cheat. It's cheap. It sucks. Stop doing it, please.
I don't know if it's really a trope, but it definitely is an exposition device. I also really get frustrated with those. It's so like cheesy, and honestly, it makes them really annoying.
Yeah. Because, like, why can't you give them a character to talk to about their feelings? Why can't you give them, a way for their feelings to come out? Like, we work really hard in shows to try to cover up the exposition by giving the audience a reason the exposition is coming out. Like, one of the tricks you can see in your favorite TV shows is exposition is best handled when you can make it in the form of an argument. When two people are arguing about what's going on, then the exposition can come out. But just standing there spouting exposition, I think we can all agree that's bad. So why is standing there in a room by yourself spouting your feelings also not seen as bad? It's just emotional exposition.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just lazy.
Lazy, that's the perfect word.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Neither do I.
Now, another thing I want to mention that I don't really like and that we kind of see a lot is one-note sidekicks. Like I just said, I don't mind if a character doesn't have a complex backstory, but that character still has to serve a purpose, and it really helps if it's not just one note and we know nothing about this character other than he has to convince the main guy to do stuff. No, sir, you must turn left instead of turn right. Okay, thank you, GPS character. But these one-note sidekicks drive me nuts. So in the story of Pearl Girl, Mr. Zhang, one of the, love interest, but not really love interest, the second male lead, has a sidekick that literally is only there to convince him to do stupid things that delay the plot. Like, don't chase the girl you love, you have to go to the capital. Don't go make this alliance, you have to go do this other thing, remember? Like, that's the only reason he's there.
His character is so like negative Nancy. Like it's so frustrating and annoying. I was complaining about him just last night because I was like, I hate this character because he literally like honestly, he doesn't have Jung's back. And what we like to watch with these little sidekick kicks or like, they're like essentially it's like their only real best friend, right? That's always by their side. And I hate that they're the ones that are like really just like really annoying, and they're always down on the character, and they're always they're like, you can't do that, you have to do that, you need to let her go, you need to and I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Well, I think one thing too, and it's also just like a very simple dramatic thing, is we tend to dislike characters who constantly argue against the premise of the show.
Yeah.
So, like, you remember in Breaking Bad, like, Bryan Cranston's wife, everyone hated her. And it's like, well, you hate her because she wants him to stop making meth, which is what the show is about. And she's never going to win that argument because the show is about him making meth. So at some point, she needs to shut the fuck up about the making meth because you're arguing for the show to end. And we don't like it when the characters argue for the show to end.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like this, where it feels like if you like this character, you're never going to like the guy that tells him, hey, don't go after the girl. Yeah. Hey, don't go do the brave thing. Go do the cowardly thing. And you're like, oh, you're such a wet blanket.
Yeah. So I really hated that character, but there was another one-note character, was the firecracker of a sidekick of the Trace Shijiao.
Yeah, the badass chick that tries to take over, and then her little like sidekick who's always grumpy.
Yeah, the one that like she has like one that dresses like a boy, and then one that dresses like
all pretty.
Yeah. And so the one that dresses like a boy, well, the one that dresses all pretty, is just like really dumb and like doesn't like to be dirty, which is really annoying. But also the one that dresses up like a boy is just angry all the time, and she like always like flies off the handle at every little thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, can you guys like we need more dynamic within a character. Like even though they're side characters, they just need to be more well-rounded.
Well, they're just one freaking note.
Yeah.
How dare you talk to her that way? Like, how many times did she say that line of dialogue?
I know.
How dare you talk to her that way? Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Shut up.
So it was really annoying. I do have to say, like, on the topic of Pearl Girl, like, I really liked it and enjoyed it. And I was mad because at first I'm like, oh my God, they're cousins. And I'm like, how can they possibly be, or like their brother and sister? I'm like, how can they be romantic interests? You know, and I was like getting really pissed. I'm like, I didn't wait all the way from Long Ballad all these years for this to air, and they're fucking cousins. Right?
Which wasn't the case.
But I was like, I was a little like, grr, you know? But I thoroughly enjoyed it up until episode 19 and 20, where, and this leads to one of my biggest peeves.
Pet peeves. You can't just call them peeves. Who says that? My biggest peeve. Pet peeve is the term. You're welcome.
My biggest pet peeve is, and I've mentioned this so many times in different episodes, but like when you make your character absolutely stupid, especially when this whole time in the first 19 episodes you have made her, oh, she's so smart, she like can always guess what he is thinking. She may not know every single move that he makes, but she can kind of guess where he's like leading to. And even though she doesn't know when he's like, you know, the 10th step ahead, you know, but as she goes along, she can guess what he's thinking, to this point where she is literally like out of everything that's happening. I'm like, really? You think that he deliberately shot you with an arrow? Like, why would you think that? Because he drugged your alcohol? Like, drugging your alcohol doesn't even lead to this whole thing. Like, it just makes no sense. Because right before that, he fucking went and saved you. So if he wanted you to die, he would have just left you and been kidnapped, and then they would have killed you then. Like, it just, there's like, where's your logic here?
Well, it's in the face of all the logic. And I think one of the main problems you have often with characters like this is you say that we have this amazing connection, and you've shown us this amazing connection between these two characters, and then you artificially want to sever that connection, and now they suddenly don't trust each other anymore. You're like, no. Like, you should trust each other because you have this crazy connection, and no matter what happens, like, there should be this bond. And so the way to split them up needs to be really smart.
Yeah.
And it felt like they just weren't doing anything smart.
Again, they painted her to be so fucking smart. And then all of a sudden, she's so fucking stupid. And you're like, no, why would you make her so fucking stupid? She's never been so fucking stupid. So, like, oh, you can argue that, oh, she's blinded by love and heartbreak. But, like, she had a whole lot of fucking time while she's like wandering the desert and the snow forest and all this time. You're telling me there wasn't a point in time where she like was able to clear her mind and thought logically? She had a lot of time alone.
No, it's bad. It's a really bad turn. And I also have a thing with like, who wants to watch our lead female protagonist just be wrong? Like, who wants to watch the show where she like bumbles around being wrong and like wrong about being wronged. And you're like, now she just looks like an idiot. Like let's even say that they were able to pull it off and that it really looked like he tried to kill her. Like let's say they actually pulled it off. Do you really want to watch a show where we, the audience, knows he tried to save her life and she thinks he tried to kill her, and then they exist apart doing silly shit? Like what am I rooting for?
They literally could have done it where like he just fucking went missing and she is absolutely hysterical and like needs to find him because she thinks he's dead. They would have gotten the same outcome from this.
No, there's a million ways to do this better. I think this is dumb. This show leads me to yet another thing that I'm wondering why is so popular, which is the poisoned male lead. Like, why? Why are we poisoning all of our male leads in these costume dramas? Why are they all poisoned or their powers diminished? Or it's like, it's this weird thing where like, I get the tendency to say we don't want our lead to be all powerful all the time. So we diminish our lead in a certain way so that he just can't win easily. How we would do that before would be someone starts out not being the best in the world at everything, and then they go through a character arc whereby the climax they've risen to the top of the mountain to face the bad guy. But now it's like, no, he's the greatest fill in the blank of all time, except he's poisoned. So the greatness only comes out like 20% of the time, or else he'll cough blood.
But in this instance, his character's not even that like that. He's not like some all-powerful... Like, yeah, he's good at martial arts or whatever, but so are other people. Like, he definitely can be beaten. He doesn't have to be poisoned. That doesn't really... Other than, like, wanting to... Like, this generic, like, oh, I can't be with her, so I'm gonna let her go because there's no way I can be better. I'm gonna die soon. Like, fuck that shit, man. Also, if you're about to die soon and you're like, oh, I'm not going to spend more time with my loved one, is ridiculous. This is the time when you do spend more time with each other and you cherish every minute. So instead of wasting the time you do have left not talking to each other.
Yeah, I think this is just a dumb conceit and it needs to go away. I never like it. I've never really liked it ever. I've never seen it in a place where I'm like, oh, I'm sure glad the lead is poisoned and needs the antidote and is like destined for an ill fate. Like, groan.
Yeah. So off of Pearl Girl, some other things that we're watching right now is Love Game and Eastern Fantasy. We're kind of watching it like back to back consecutively, like.
Right, it's very different tone than Pearl Girl. It's almost like a palate cleanser.
Yeah, I actually, in all honesty, and I have to say, like, I love Liu Yuning. I love Zhao Lucy. Like, they are my favorites. And I don't hate Pearl Girl yet. I can see them really pissing me off because it's brewing already at like episode 20. So, but it is like, the tone is so dark, especially in the beginning with like all the slavery and it's just like really hard to stomach. But as a drama, it's done pretty well and the acting is great in it. With Love Game and Eastern Fantasy, it's so fun and so cute, and like it's not executed badly, which is like very important because we've seen like the same actors where they're these cute characters or whatever, but because the story isn't executed well, it's just like, oh, it's not fun to watch. But it has every aspect in it where it's just like, they have a really good relationship build, and it's just the characters are fun. Although, the older sister and the other guy are so freaking boring, but
yeah, they're boring, but the leads are engaging and like the storytelling is well paced, and the tone is really light and fun, and like she gets to be cutesy, and now it's like the guy is kind of returning her cutesy a little bit, and so it's starting to like it all felt like the romance, the plot, like everything's going at the right pace to not be just an annoying fluff show, but like a fun fluff show.
Yeah, I really like the romance in this. It is so cute. It's so fluffy. It's just like I'm like, okay, I'm ready for them to kiss. I'm really like, I love that they're holding hands now. Like just little things, you know?
I'm really hoping they don't go too dark with it, because I think they have a tendency to lose the cutesy and the humor once they get into a little bit of deeper, reveals and stuff. And we're getting to that point in the show where I think like, yeah, they're going to start getting real like dramatic, and I just hope they don't lose the charm.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that there's a lot of these transmigration stories, dramas, but I know there are a few. I just don't remember which ones, but I do like the fact that this one, Meow Meow is like losing her memory of the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of, I don't know, it kind of keeps you engaged and then kind of worried.
Mm-hmm.
Like how things are gonna end up, and who knows how it'll end, but for the most part right now we're really enjoying it. Another drama that I'm really, really enjoying is it's like Poison Love or Love Poison, something like that. It's like Dokukoi. So I went into it not really having much expectation. I was like, I'm not sure if I'll like it or not. And as I watch it, it's just so funny to me. Like I was rolling. And the thing is, it's so hilarious. But every like comedic part is like played so straight. And I don't know how the lead guy can like keep his straight face, because some of the stuff he thinks and like says is so ridiculous but hilarious. I just don't know how he can keep a straight face, and it's so good.
Well, that's his job. He's the actor matron. That's his one job, is to keep a straight face.
Yeah. But also, I think it's good story development, it's good character development and relationship development. And at some point, when I read the comments, it said it's not BL, it's romance. No, it's fucking BL. They don't know what they're talking about, but like, it's really good. And I am really, really enjoying this.
What I want to talk about that we dipped in, I think we watched 2 episodes, Judge from Hell, Korean drama, which is a little odd. And it's odd in the way that the main character, it's risky what they're doing. Like, there's a version where you hate this main character after an episode or 2. Like, she lets an abusive boyfriend kick the crap out of his girlfriend, and she knows it's going to happen. And she lets it happen.
She wants it to happen.
She wants it to happen. Which, again, you can justify it and buy it back on the back end after what she does. But, like, oh, that's a risk, making people turn off the channel.
It is a risk. But I do have to say, when she puts her judgment on him, it's so satisfying to watch.
Oh, 100%. 100%. You just have to last that long.
Yeah, you do. And you're not used to characters like her, because she's so like, I don't care. And she just doesn't have empathy at all.
Which makes sense, because she's from hell.
Yeah.
And she's used to dealing with the worst of the worst, the people that comes to hell, and she judges them. But it's a very different style of show. I can't say that I like love it, but I think it's really well acted, and it's interesting, and it's weird. I'm afraid it's going to get goofy, like over the top in a way that's not good, in a way that kind of cuts against the premise. But I'm hoping it can stay consistent, and they don't shy away from what the show is.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I love watching Park Shin-hye, but a lot of times I feel like her characters have always been a certain way. Like, she's very typecasted in certain characters. And I'm really, really enjoying her, like, breaking through and doing so many different characters, and like watching her succeed in like in her acting, and really just showing everybody, hey, I'm a good actress. Now watch me do my thing.
Yeah.
So another thing that I'm watching, Ryan is not watching this. It's called Jack and Joker. It is the Ying War BL drama. Everyone was anticipating this drama after their they had a music video shot, or it's not really a music video, I guess. It was like a teaser for their concert.
Okay.
And it was like a long teaser that was like kind of like a short movie almost. And it had this concept of almost like a Bonnie and Clyde feel to it, right? And so they were pulling a heist together kind of thing. So that concept started from this teaser for their concert. And then they decided to make a drama out of it. And I do have to say, the good things about it are their romance. They are so good with each other. They have a lot of chemistry. All the romantic moments hit very hard. The only thing is, it's a freaking heist drama, and their heisting is ridiculously bad.
They need to go back to heist school?
Yes.
Well, it reminds me of, like, when you just, all the elements you're talking about, it reminds me of the movie Hudson Hawk with, it's like Bruce Willis and Danny Aiello, where they're like cat burglars, but like they time their burglaries to like a song. And so they're like, okay, we need to be out in 3 minutes, 21 seconds. Oh, that's this song. And so they literally sing the song during the entire cat burglar. And so at one point, they're literally running through the lobby of this place, like singing this song musical style. I'm like, you're all the worst cat burglars in the world.
Well, the thing is, not to mention, literally every time he pulls a heist, he gets caught.
Oh, well, that would be bad.
It's just like, it's so bad. And then they put these like, it's so hammy too, because every time they do the heist, like he dresses up and like the thing, it's so like Lupin-esque, right? But like badly done, like not well done like Lupin, and where Lupin always succeeds, they always fail, but somehow they kind of do it, and he's like and they just keep telling us he's like the Joker, right? Like he's like the famous thief kind of thing, and I'm like, how is he that famous when he's always fucking caught?
That's why he's famous. He's on a lot of wanted posters. Like, hey, you see this schmuck? He's trying to rip you off.
Anyway, so like all this stuff is like, they do not put any thought into this whole thing, and it's so these convoluted like heists where like, oh, we'll do this, and then this comes up, and it's just like, it's so bad. Anyway, but Ying and War, great acting. I love them. And I'm definitely going to continue watching it, but I'm just like, it's not that good. Surprisingly, there is another BL that I'm watching, and Ryan is also not watching this. But it surprised me that I kind of like it, and I enjoy watching it. It's not great, like it's not some, piece of art or anything, but it's called Every You, Every Me. The concept originally was every episode it was like a different lifetime, and each lifetime the couple always falls for each other.
Okay.
So the first episode, it was, you're gonna hate this, when it rains. So
this isn't really a trope or a genre. It never comes up.
When it rains, like everyone's black and white, except for when you see your soulmate, they're in color. Stop. Anyway, whatever. It was one episode, fine, right? And then second episode, it was like an office romance. And then it gets into kind of like the thick of it, where like the third and fourth episode was one story. It's like simple stories, but the emotions are there. I was surprised by the acting because I've seen I forgot to look up their names beforehand. I'm sorry. But one of the actors I've seen before, and I didn't think that highly of his acting. He's a lot better in this. So I appreciate that. It's not a work of art, but I'm enjoying watching it. And then the next one, also a BL that I'm watching, it's called Our Youth or Miseinen. I've only watched 2 episodes of it. It deals with a very harsh subject of abuse and, and then finding someone that like you can be consoled by, I guess. But it's done so far. The filmmaking is pretty good. The acting is good. I'm looking forward to watching more of it.
So that's a tour around everything we are currently watching. Maybe some of it will make it into an episode next year. I don't think any of those are like drop. I think most of those feel like things will finish.
Yeah, I do have to say that there was a huge lull in the middle, I guess during the summer, and I just didn't really have much to watch or like enjoyed to watch. And then like October, like mid-October hit, and then all these like dramas that I'm like, yes, I'm watching and very into, and then into November, so I'm expecting more good things.
Okay, so in wrapping this up, we have 2 more categories to talk about before we wrap up the year. And one would be the biggest disappointment of the year. Like, what were you looking forward to? And then it just crashed and burned. And I think I already know the answer.
My highest anticipation was Fox Spirit Matchmaker, Your Home. I really, really was hoping for something good. It was something they were promoting like heavily. They had 2 big name actors. It's based off of an animation that I have watched and enjoyed very much. And then we watched the drama, and I really was trying to like give it like so many chances, as like immediately Ryan's like, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. And
I hated it from maybe the first 5 minutes. And I'm like, this is garbage. Oh, this is awful. And you're like, no, they're doing this. No, they're going to get into this. I'm like, I don't know. Seems like garbage.
Yeah, I really was like trying to make excuses for it, and then it just hit a point and I'm like, I also really hate this. And it's just my biggest disappointment of the year. And don't get me wrong, there were a lot of like bad dramas this year and then I had high hopes for. But this one hit the hardest.
I would say my biggest disappointment of the year would be Deadpool and Wolverine. I know it's not an international drama. It's not one we normally cover, but we did go to the theater. We watched it. We talked about it on the podcast. And I was not expecting high art. When I went into the movie theater, it's like fringe Marvel. So I didn't expect like the world of filmmaking. But Deadpool 1 to me was such a great, surprising breath of fresh air into the superhero genre that I loved it. Deadpool 2, it wasn't quite as good, but really enjoyable and funny and charming. And this one was just fan service. And it was just about the cameos. And it was about what reference we can make. And I'm like, again, there's no substance to this. It's just nothing but empty calories from start to finish. And like Wolverine fighting Deadpool. And I get it. It's cool once. And you do it twice. And I'm a little bored. And then you threatened to do it a third time. I'm like, all right, just stop. I can say like the more I even think about this movie, I think about how much more I disliked it than when I walked out of the theater, and then I dislike it even more when people are like, "Oh my god, it was so good." You remember that quippy line? There's not a memorable line in that whole fucking movie to me. Not one. So yeah, sorry, y'all. That movie was garbage.
The only thing good about it was Dogpool.
I understand you liked Dogpool. Didn't save it for me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was definitely a big disappointment too, because I was huge Deadpool fan. That movie was supposed, and they took so long, and they wanted to make it so good, and it just became nothing. And I'm just like, why did it take so long?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that is the biggest disappointment. For our last topic of the episode, what is your favorite of the year?
I had a couple choices, but much like, well, for my biggest disappointment, I went with a movie, so I'm going to stick with the movie side of things rather than the drama side of things. My favorite movie I think we saw this year was The Twilight Warriors Walled In. And I don't even know if it's the best thing we saw this year, but it felt like this resurgence of what Hong Kong cinema could be when they really, really try. And that got me excited. So I think about that a lot. I wanted to throw in like the Trilateral Slopes. I really enjoyed that show, and I did not see that coming. I did not see us finishing that even. I was just like, yeah, we'll start it. We probably won't finish this. But Walled In, I really, really enjoyed everything. I really enjoyed the film, and it made me really hopeful for maybe there is still some, life in Hong Kong cinema that they can bring us some good stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really, really enjoyed that movie. It was one of those, like, it brought nostalgia back in terms of how the filmmaking was. And then I've been so disappointed in a lot of Hong Kong entertainment in general. And I just really, really was so glad that it was such a good movie. But for me, that was not like my favorite of the year. I really, really enjoyed it. I also really enjoyed Trilateral Slopes. I loved The Double. I actually liked Princess Royal a lot. There were a lot of good productions this year, and I do have to say, like, it was really hard for me to come up with like what could possibly be my favorite. I have two in the running, like Unknown and Love in the Big City, which are both BLs. Um, but I keep thinking about it. Like Unknown is like very up on the list for me. It's one of those that I just like got really obsessed with, and then I had to buy all the merch for, so I could, say like that was one of my big obsessions this year. But when I think about it with all the like the flaws that each production had, I think the one that had less flaws was Love in the Big City. Mm-hmm. For me, it was just very like, it's hard to say that it's perfect, but it's pretty fucking perfect. So I have to say my favorite of the year is Love in the Big City.
And if you want to know more about both of those, we have full episodes dedicated to both Love in the Big City and Twilight of Warriors Walled In, so you can go check those out, because this is, sadly, us saying goodbye for the rest of 2024. So we did 40 episodes this year. You can go back and listen to them all on Spotify and YouTube and wherever podcasts are listened to or watched or whatever you want to call it. And you can also check us out on Instagram at DramaMeans _podcast for all of the shorts and the minis and the promos and the different stuff we've done all year long. And we will be back in 2025 to do even more dramas, movies, and everything that we watch and want to talk about.
Yeah, and definitely we will still be watching dramas and movies throughout the year. It's just as holidays come by, it gets really busy at the end of the year. So we are taking our hiatus, and we will see you next year. Thanks for listening.